Hey family, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks live on a Wednesday afternoon. Breaking news: Breonna Taylor non-indictment was just handed down, and so I just needed to come to you and just kind of decipher this bullshit. Not police code talk this time, family, but AG code talk. So I needed to decipher AG code talk for you because, we have a situation here, family. They propped up some skin folk. This AG, Daniel Cameron, is a Republican who spoke recently, I guess, at the RNC, and he is a purported ally of Lil Tink Tink and Moscow Mitch, aka Turtle Boy. So I am not surprised at all by his position. I'm not surprised at all. Hey, Laura Goff, I am not surprised at all that he was up there, buck dancing and tiptoeing and tap dancing the way that he did during that press conference. And so I just got off with MSNBC. For those of you who are with me on Facebook and had an opportunity to tune in to MSNBC and see me live over there with Ahmed Mohedin, talking about this non-indictment. So I will hopefully, if they don't send me a clip of it, I'm going to do what I do, family. So let me just warn you in advance. Don't judge me. I'll record it off my television, which is where I presently have it on my DVR, because I don't know if they'll send me a clip. And so if they don't send me a clean MP4 version, then I won't be able to do anything better than record it off my TV and share it with you. So that's why sometimes when you see videos on YouTube, subbies, you guys try to keep me on the straight and narrow. I appreciate you. But if you see a video on YouTube and the volume is not that high, it's not the best, it's because it was one of my own technical recordings that I did. So having said all of that, let's get right to it. So listen, understand this. Oh, hold on. Roland Unfiltered is calling me. Hang on. We'll do this together. Hello? Hello?
Hi, Sergeant Dorsey.
Yes.
It's Jackie Clark from Roland Martin Unfiltered. How are you?
I'm fine, Jackie, from Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want me to come on and talk about this non-indictment?
Yes, I do. It's 6:30 today. Can you Skype with us?
Ooh, 6:30. Yeah, it'll have to be, you know what, let me call you right back, because I have another, I got to check my schedule. I'm going to say tentatively, if you could bring me on earlier as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, 6:30 to 7, I have a commitment with Court TV. So
if I do like 6:15, will that work?
That would work.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, perfect. I'll see you then.
We'll call you on Skype.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So there you have it. I'll be on with Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6:15 for those of you who want to tune in. So let me say this. Uh-oh, I just did something. I don't know what I just did. But let me say this about that. Okay, there my I had to find my comments. Okay, so the police coerced a neighbor to say that they knocked and announced themselves, right? We already knew that $12 million was the clue. Questions about Crump. Now listen, I haven't heard little the Lollipop Gill. That's my name for Crump. The Lollipop Gill, is my reference to the three little munchkins from the Wizard of Oz, because I'm silly like that. And so generally, when I refer to the Lollipop Gill, I'm talking about Crump, Lee Merritt, and whoever else they may have attached themselves to in the moment. But when you hear me say Lollipop Gill, it's Crump. So somebody went on and said that now they said that the attorney representing the family says indictment brings us closer to justice. Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. This doesn't bring us any closer to any justice. It was a done deal, and I told you guys, I know what I know. I know what I know. I told you when they signed the check for that $12 million check. I told you then it was a wrap. And so this indictment today has absolutely nothing. When I tell you nothing to do with Breonna Taylor, you need to listen to what I'm telling you. It has nothing to do with Breonna Taylor. This officer who was charged, who was indicted today, Brett Hankerson. Hankerson is only one officer of the three. The other two is a sergeant by the name of Jonathan Mattingly, who had the audacity to write some kind of an op-ed and say that what they did that night was, I wrote it down, it was ethical. I think was his position. The nerve of him to be so bold as to double down on that bullshit and say that what they did was actually ethical that night when they fired. And this Jonathan Mattingly, the sergeant, fired allegedly 6 shots. And then there was a detective, Miles Cosgrove, who fired 16 shots. Now, neither one of those two were charged or indicted. Why? Well, because this Skinfolk, AG Skinfolk, said that the shooting by those two, the use of force, the deadly use of force by Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly and Detective Miles Cosgrove was justified. So understand, when the AG Skinfolk says that the shooting by the two officers was justified, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And the one officer allegedly, according to at least one report, fired the fatal shot. Detective Miles Cosgrove, according to one report, was the one that fired the fatal shot that hit Breonna. So Skinfolk AG said it was a justified shooting. Use of force was justified. And so this indictment has nothing to do with that. The reason that the one officer, Brett Hankerson was indicted has only to do with him firing bullets that went into the neighbor's apartment. Specifically, I think they said apartment number 3. He fired rounds so willy-nilly that they went into the neighbor's apartment. Now, I don't know, but I'm just thinking that maybe the neighbors, didn't look like me and some of you, and maybe that's why they are taking the position that he was acting in wanton disregard for the neighbors. Never mind what the fuck they did to Breonna. Never mind all the shots they fired into her house. The problem that Skinfolk AG has is with the shots that Hankerson fired into the neighbor's apartment. And that's what he's being charged with. And when you understand that a prosecutor, as they say, can indict a ham sandwich, you understand that the way that this AG Skinfolk couched his presentation to the grand jury has everything to do with why the other 2 officers were not charged. And listen, he tried to dance around, or he did dance around, because he'd been buck dancing probably, allegedly, for a long time. So he's good at it. And he kept saying and emphasizing, I present it to the grand jury. I present it to the grand jury. And so when he presented his bullshit to the grand jury, of course, the grand jury was not going to have a problem with what he presented to them, because he presented them with the very least that he could. He presented to them nothing having to do with the murder of Breonna Taylor. He presented, Skinfolk AG presented to the grand jury the problem that he had with Officer Hankerson firing into the next door neighbor's house. That was the problem that he had. And so understand that. And if that was the best that Skinfolk AG could do, you understand when this goes to a jury, and who gives a damn at this point, when this goes to a jury, they may or may not find Officer Hankerson guilty of wanton disregard for firing into maybe the good white people's apartment who live next door. I don't know if they're white or not. I'm just saying. They may or may not have a problem with what he did, because that's kind of how they get down. And so what I want to know is if Officer Hankerson, if his only mistake was that he fired into a neighbor's apartment, why did they fire him? Why were they so quick to fire him once we found out? Because remember, we didn't find out for the longest. And so once we found out, they immediately fired him. And then once we found out as a public, they immediately came up with Breonna Taylor's law. We're going to have a situation now where every search warrant for no knock or otherwise must be approved by a supervisor. Okay, that shit should have been approved by a supervisor anyway. So doing that is not really great reform. So when they pretend, when the lollipop guild gets on TV and pretends like they really did a damn thing with this faux reform in Kentucky, he didn't do a goddamn thing but line his pockets. That's all he did. And now we have proof of that by this non-indictment for Hankerson on wanton disregard. Has nothing to do with Breonna Taylor. The other thing that we now know is that the grand jury deliberated not even for an entire day. They got the case on Monday, family, Monday. They got the case on Monday. And by lunchtime, they were done. And Skinfolk AG didn't really want to speak a whole lot on it. So when he didn't want to tell you the details, he would say stuff like, well, we have an ongoing federal investigation. And so I can't really, speak too much because I don't want to taint or jeopardize that investigation. So I can't speak to the specifics of, what the grand jury had been told, because one of the reporters asked, well, did you even ask them to consider manslaughter? Well, of course he didn't ask them to consider manslaughter for the other two officers and Hankerson, because he's already said that the deadly use of force was justified. So we know that Skinfolk AG did not argue that to the grand jury, because Skinfolk AG said that those officers were within their right to shoot into Breonna Taylor's home, and that all of a sudden now the story that we're getting is that when they came into the front door, they announced. Now they interviewed several people and they could only find one who said he heard them announce. All of the other witnesses in the building allegedly did not hear them announce. And if you have a no-knock warrant, why are you even announcing at 1 o'clock in the damn morning? Because you got a no-knock warrant, so you're not required to announce. But they said they found one person, and so this is supposedly the truth. I think it's just their truth. So we're going to go with this one witness that they found, and now they're saying, according to Skinfolk AG, that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend admitted he fired the first shot. Now, I don't know if the boyfriend said that or not. I don't know if they got him to say it during those 7 days that they had him in custody down there and they had the damn hot lamp on him and he said that, or if they're just saying that he said that because they know he can't respond, right? But now the story is, and we know that they lie, so I can't believe shit that comes out of their mouth, because they said that nobody was injured, and we certainly on the 911 tapes don't hear anybody doing anything. There's no commotion, there's no treatment, no medical treatment, assistance being given to Breonna Taylor during the time. We know that they said that they didn't have any body camera, but then Skinfolk AG said that the grand jury and his investigators looked at the video surveillance. We saw a still image of a police officer wearing a body cam on his vest. So we know that that's a lie. So they'll lie. So I can't believe anything that comes out of Skinfolk AG's mouth, right? And all of this reform that they did after the fact of us finding out was just really done to placate. And remember, I said to you just the other day in a video that a lot of the reforms are nothing more than promises, and it's stuff that the city council has to buy off on anyway. So again, none of this shit matters. It's all smoke and mirrors, it's all double talk, it's all code speak. And none of this is about justice. Justice for Breonna Taylor. When they scratched that check for $12 million, because they knew if they went to a jury trial, a jury would award that family probably 7 times more. And so they just decided to bite the bullet, no pun intended, and scratch out a check for $12 million. And listen, I'm sure the lollipop Gil, he makes a nice little chunk of change, and do your thing. I'm not, caught up in what he makes. I'm not in his wallet. I'm only bothered by the fact that what he does doesn't bring about justice. And maybe the reason, I said this before, and so I'm going to say it again, maybe the reason that he doesn't really seek justice is because if police quit killing us, then he wouldn't have any clients, right? I'm just saying. And so all of this is just more of the same. They've done nothing with this non-indictment of Brett Hankerson to deter bad behavior, to prevent officers in the future from coming in your house In Kentucky, if you live in Kentucky, know this, they will come in your house at 1 o'clock tonight or tomorrow night if they so choose. They will shoot you if they so choose, because Skinfolk AG, and you understand that you guys voted for this jackass. I don't know when his term is up, but voting has consequences, and so does not voting. Let me just say that as we sit 40 something days outside of an election. We know that Skinfolk AG is being intellectually dishonest because he's pretending like there's some great federal investigation that's going to follow his fake ass local investigation that might bring about that justice. Understand, when he talks about a federal civil rights investigation, that's AG Flintstone, State Attorney General Flintstone. And he is serving at the pleasure of dumbass little Tink Tink. And so if you guys who your vote is too important to throw away, and Biden and Harris don't have a black agenda, neither does this jackass. And understand this, because they're going to appoint a Supreme Court justice on Saturday. They're going to name one, and this heifer is about 40 years old. So that means when she's appointed, and she will be, when she's appointed, because there's not enough Democrats to stop it, because you guys are too worried about your vote and it's too important for you to throw away, and you can't hold your fucking nose to spite your face. So when they appoint this heifer on the Supreme Court at 40 or 42, know that this heifer can serve for at least 40 years if she's blessed with longevity. That means it's going to affect your children, your grandchildren, and in some cases, your great-grandchildren. And that's why white folks have been able to hold their nose, not being willing to cut their nose to spite their face and keep this jackass in the White House, because he is appointing judges who are going to affect us for generations. Folks who are going to, when you have a civil rights investigation and you want somebody to, hear your cries about how bad police are coming in your house at 2 o'clock in the morning and shooting the shit out of you. Well, when it goes to his judges, and he's already appointed 200, and he said the other day, little Tink Tink, he was very proud of his appointments. He's very proud of them. And so when those judicial appointments that are also lifetime on the federal bench, yeah, when they get a case that has to do with you or your grandkids or somebody else that looks like Breonna Taylor or Rashard Brooks or George Floyd or anybody else, they're not going to have an appetite to investigate that shit, because the bar to reach the threshold for a civil rights violation, to convict a police officer of violating somebody's civil rights, is way higher than local level investigations, local level. And if you can't get an indictment, a charge for 3 white men showing up at a black woman's house at 1 o'clock in the morning and firing with reckless abandon into her home, if you can't get an indictment at a local level on that, do you think you're going to be able to get an indictment on a federal level when the bar is much higher? And when you have a jackass like Lil Tink Tink and Flintstone who have to bless it, hold your vote, because it's too precious, you guys who don't want to vote, or who say you're going to vote but you're just going to vote down ballot, because down ballot is important. Down ballot is important. But I said this in 2016, and I said it over and over and over, that SCOTUS was the reason to not let this jackass get in the White House. And here we are. Here we are. He's there. And he is wreaking havoc on us as a people. And so this shit don't affect me, family. Listen, I don't have any children who I'm trying to get on my medical, because ACA is going to get voted on November the 10th. And if this judicial appointment, this female is put on the Supreme Court in time for the November 10th vote on ACA, Obamacare, that they want to call it, that means all of you people who got COVID and whatever else, high damn blood pressure and fucking gout and whatever else you have, whatever other pre-existing condition you have, is going to be voted against November the 10th, because little Tink Tink and fucking Mitch McConnell are about to install a 40-year-old woman to the Supreme Court who thinks like them. And if he gets another 4 years, the world as we know it will cease to exist. And so please, Please don't throw away your vote because Biden and Kamala don't have a black agenda, as if to say Tink Tink has a black agenda. Please don't throw your vote away and vote for Biden and Kamala Harris because you think that they are just as bad as this jackass. I don't full-throated support Biden and Harris, but I'm going to hold my fucking nose and vote for them because I don't think that either one of them would have policies in place that would willy-nilly perform hysterectomies on folks. I don't think that they would abide by policies that would continue in the way that this current administration is. And so right now, I'm hot. And so I just wanted to come to you and say this. And you know, some of you, you know, send me other stuff, and there's one of you in particular who keeps trying to get me to chime in on something, and I'll just say it like this: that's going on in Pasadena. It's too fucking much. It's too much. And I have to pick and choose my battles. I can't fight everything. I can't speak on everything because me too, I get a fucking enough. I have a limit. I have a limit. And while I thought I was okay before I came to you, this shit right here rubs me raw. This Breonna Taylor non-indictment rubs me the fuck raw because we've been waiting and waiting and what, 6 months? 6 months and 10 days, I think they said. We were waiting to find out what was going to happen. And I pretty much knew it. I kind of said it to some folks that I had been talking to privately, but when you say it out loud, it just leaves a whole nother nasty taste in your mouth. And so again, it is what it is, family. This was a non-indictment. This had nothing to do with Breonna Taylor. And listen, don't just take my word for it. Do your own damn due diligence. Do your own research. Read what the grand jury had to say in their statements with regards to what this was really about. This was not about Breonna Taylor. This was about her next door neighbors who had bullets come through their apartment complex, the walls, as a result of Brett Hankerson. Has nothing to do with the officers who shot and killed Breonna Taylor, specifically Detective Miles Cosgrove, who fired what is now described as the fatal shot. The use of force, according to Skinfolk AG, was justified. It's a wrap. It's over. There will be no justice for Breonna Taylor. So, having said that, glad I took my blood pressure medicine this morning, but I'm going to go light my lavender candle and try and relax as best I can. I will, as you heard at the beginning, be on with Roland Martin at 6:15 p.m. Pacific. I will again be on tomorrow morning, New Day on CNN. You know, it is what it is. So if you guys, you know, don't want to roll up your sleeves, and if you don't want to hold your nose despite your face, white folks will. They'll hold their nose despite their face. They'll hold their nose and they'll vote for this jackass again. And understand, a no vote, not going to the poll, is a vote, because they will be going. And so listen, if it makes sense to you, shit, it makes sense to me. Don't do anything different. But I don't want to hear shit November 4th. If this jackass is voted back into office, I don't want to hear nothing. Until next time, family, be good. Be safe.